Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Money Mike, and today we are going to be talking Deshaun Watson and 5 possible destinations for Watson in 2021. Now, it is clear and obvious that at this point, he is not going to play for Houston. And he wants out of the Texans. He removed all the Texans stuff from his social media. So clearly he is serious about leaving. Now, so let's go ahead and get into it before the Texans decide to trade him, because I had a video planned for Matthew Stafford and his 5 destinations, and then that trade came out of nowhere. So I'm going to get this done before Deshaun Watson gets traded elsewhere. So let's go ahead and start this off with the San Francisco 49ers. Now the 49ers, I think Watson here would be the best fit to go, because the Niners are going to have to eventually pay Nick Bosa. They're going to have to, and they had a lot of injuries, but they do have a lot of free agents. So the only downside here, and I'll put the 49ers so low on this list, is due to the fact they have so many free agents and so many positions to fill going forward, that I feel like if they were to give up future first round picks for Deshaun Watson, it would handicap the team death-wise elsewhere, and would actually hurt them instead of help them. I mean, Watson would help them pretty much do what they couldn't do in the Super Bowl, and that's probably win a Super Bowl. Watson obviously would make them Super Bowl contenders, but again, they have so many needs, so many free agents. I put them so low because I think they just cannot afford to trade away Watson and give away the picks, as they got to replenish the depth on that team. The Washington football team. Now, the feel-good story of Alex Smith, that's wonderful. That's great. He's comeback player of the year this year. That's all fine and dandy. But he's not the guy going forward in Washington. When you look at what Washington has, you look at what they've done from defensively, they were the first team. They were the first team to beat the Steelers, and that sent the Steelers down like a downward spiral that they fluttered at the end of the year. They lost to Cleveland in the playoffs. And when you look at what Washington has, they need to kind of take advantage of that. And I don't know if they were in talks with Stafford or what, but they do own the 19th overall pick. I think if you give away the 19th overall pick, 2022, 2023, like I said in my Stafford video, my reaction to that trade, I could easily see Watson going for 4 or 5 first-round picks. I think if Washington gives away 3 or 4, within this NFC East, when you look at this, we don't know if Dak's going to come back to Dallas. The Giants right now, there's still a lot to answer about Daniel Jones. The Eagles are a mess and probably have their general manager running things to the ground. And potentially maybe their ownership too, I don't know. And that division is winnable for the next several years. I mean, if Washington pulls this off, Deshaun Watson can put this Washington football team over the top, and they could pretty much lock down the NFC East for years to come. They had the pieces in place. So Washington, to me, this would be a good fit for Deshaun as he goes to a team that is ready to win now. And look, we've seen what Tom Brady did for the Bucs. Perhaps Washington is one quarterback away from being a Super Bowl contender. Who knows? The Jets. Now, obviously, they're in rebuild mode. They're sitting there with the second overall pick, the 23rd overall pick they got from Seattle in the Jamal Adams trade. And they also have 2 first-round picks in 2022. Like I said, Deshaun could easily get Texans 4 first-round picks. And if all the Jets have to do is trade like 3 of them away, like I'm not sure if I'd give away the second overall pick, even though I think Houston might want the second overall pick. But it would definitely speed things up in that division in terms of a rebuild, because you have Buffalo now that looks to be, they're going to be contenders for years to come. Josh Allen is going to be a quarterback that is probably going to help Buffalo win a Super Bowl at some point in this decade. Patriots are, they're up and down. We don't know what's going to happen with them. The Dolphins seem to be on the uprise, but we'll have to see how that works with Tua's development going forward. But Watson would give the Jets somebody that they can compete with now. He would energize that fan base, and he would help sell tickets. They can give Sam Darnold away in the trade to Houston, so Sam Darnold can get a fresh start in Houston, and it will just speed up the rebuilding process for the Jets. The Denver Broncos. We know John Elway is not afraid to make a move for veteran quarterbacks. We saw him sign Peyton Manning, which helped Peyton Manning win 1 more Super Bowl. Back in 2015, he traded for Joe Flacco a couple years ago, and apparently they were in on Matthew Stafford. So if they were willing to do that, I could easily see them doing this for Watson. And I think if the Broncos feel that Watson, he's only 25, so if they can throw away a couple years of picks to go, first round picks to go get him, and they hit on every other pick, they might feel like this might be a good investment. Denver already has the weapons on offense. You talk about Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant, guys that they've drafted over the years, last couple years in the first round. So Deshaun would have the weapons. He, despite not having DeAndre Hopkins, he did lead the league in passing. He's the number 1 team that should trade for Deshaun Watson is the Carolina Panthers. Because why? It has nothing to do with the Clemson connection. Everybody said Carolina was going to be one of the worst teams in the league. Everybody pegged them as, they might get Trevor Lawrence. They'll have one of the worst records in the league. But turns out, everybody underestimated Teddy Bridgewater. They were one of the most competitive teams in the league. Let's throw up this graphic right here I made. Check this out. For what was supposed to have been one of the worst teams in the league, according to the media, the Carolina Panthers. Look at this here. Look at these losses. Look at the losses. These were losses by 8 or less points. Now they finished 5-11. The Chicago Bears backed their way into the playoffs at 8-8. Now flip some of these losses here by flip 3 or 4 of them. Remember, they did lose to the Bears. So if they would have beaten the Bears and had another game go their way, or a couple games go their way, they're in the playoffs. So if Teddy Bridgewater had them very competitive, and Matt Rule investing into the defense was a great idea. He used all 7 picks on defense, and that paid off, as you can see by how competitive they were, how close the games were. And now you take Teddy Bridgewater and you send him to Houston. You bring in Deshaun Watson. You look at the losses and you go, you know what? There's about 5, 6, 7. The Panthers are easily about 10, 11 win team with Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson flips at least 5 or 6 of these games to wins. Plus, if you remember, Christian McCaffrey was injured. So if they would have had McCaffrey in a couple of these games, they might have been able to win, even with if McCaffrey was able to play. So you put Watson back there in Carolina with a healthy Christian McCaffrey. They continue building on that defense. And you look at Drew Brees retiring. You look at Atlanta, who knows what they're going to do with Matt Ryan. And how do you compete with Tampa Bay and Tom Brady? Tom Brady said he wants to play beyond 45. He may play till he's 100 years old. So how do you compete with that? You bring in Deshaun Watson. So to me, Deshaun Watson with the Carolina Panthers, it would put the Panthers over the top. Just like the Jets, it would if he would go to the Jets, it would speed up the Jets rebuilding process, but it would speed up the Panthers rebuilding process. Now, to me, if you're going to give up a top 10 pick for a quarterback, it's going to be for Watson only. And I believe at the end of the day, Matt Rule and the Carolina Panthers are going to be the best fit next to Washington for Deshaun Watson at the end of the day. Comment below, what do you think? How is this going to go? And how is this going to end for the Texans? Where's Deshaun going to go? Who's going to be their starting quarterback? Comment below. I've been your host, Money Mike. And that was 5 destinations for Deshaun Watson. And again, I'll be back later in the week with more, as we are just beginning Super Bowl coverage here on this channel. So subscribe for more, and hopefully and it looks like to me we're going to have ourselves a very fun off season.